All right, 111 folks. What I wanted to talk about is talk about the origins of China itself, because when we start talking about the origins of China, it's a little bit different. If you are a Western civilization person, then the beginning of China starts with the Shang Dynasty. But the problem is that that's if you're a Westerner. If you are from China and you're a Chinese scholar, then your history starts with the Xia Dynasty. And the problem here is this: is we don't have any archaeological proof, we don't have any historical proof of the Xia Dynasty, but that is by tradition where China lists its beginning at is in the Xia Dynasty. What's unique is the Shang dynasty is indeed going to be the bronze. And we'll talk about that because the Shang is going to be replaced by the Chao, and the Chao is going to be the iron. And so the Xia is really going to be that Neolithic stage. And the thing is we don't have a big origin. We can't track them like we do Mesopotamia. Look, here's the small groups because we know where the founding is at along the Huanghe, and we know that we have, the Longshao culture to go ahead and deal with. But when it comes to cities, when it comes to towns, it's almost as if, according to Chinese legend, it just kind of sprouts into a full civilization with the Xia dynasty. And part of that is this. Part of that is the story of the five sages. There's five sages. There's four celestials. There are more or less the founders of civilization, the founders of Chinese culture. The five sages are the ones I'm going to talk about because what they do is they're going to gift civilization to the Chinese people. The first sage, and you have to remember that sages, that scholars, that learning is highly important because according to Chinese culture, scholars are gentlemen, and gentlemen have an essence of what we call li, L-I. And it is this li that allows them to lead in such a way that is going to benefit the other people. Well, here's the thing. Among the five sages, the first one we have is going to be Fuxi, F-U hyphen X-I. Two words. And Fuxi is going to gift to the people not only family and the idea of family and family relationships, but he's going to gift to them the domestication of animals. He's going to teach them how to domesticate an ox, a cow, a sheep, a dog, those kind of things that can be used for work around places, but also for food sources in addition to other things. So he's going to develop the nickname of ox tamer. Okay? And so Fuxi the ox tamer is going to gift the first step of civilization to the Chinese people. He's going to be followed by Shenong, Shenong, and Shenong is going to develop the name the divine farmer, because as a divine farmer, he's going to teach them cultivation. He's going to teach them organized farming. He's going to teach them to grow their own food. And so that takes that step that we know, farming, cultivation, is going to be that step into what becomes that Neolithic age versus, the Paleolithic age. And so that's a huge step. So we're domesticating animals at this point. So we're raising livestock. Now we're going to be raising crops. And the next step up is going to be the third scholar, and that's Huangdi. Huang, second word is Di. And his name is also the Yellow King or the Yellow Emperor. And the thing is what he will teach is important because he's going to gift to the people pottery, so a way of storing this food, right? A way of storing this excess they can create. But he's also going to gift them the true bit of what we consider civilization, which is writing. He's going to gift them a written language. Now, of course, that written language is going to be ideographs. It's going to be pictographs, not phonetics as we see a written language. But it is important because it allows them to communicate and store language and store records in a long-term basis. It also notes that he's responsible for the gift of silk, and that's not true. His wife is responsible for the gift of silk to the people. It's related to Nuwa. It's supposed to be who gives the gift of silk. Now, in addition, the next sage up is going to be Yao, Y-A-O, Yao. And Yao is going to gift the people of China rituals, the gift of rituals, the practice of rituals, whether it be religious rituals, whether it be governmental or interpersonal rituals, or dealing with family rituals. It's important because we are dependent upon rituals for our survival in some cases. If you are early man and you're going to go outside, you're going to want to make sure, you have a weapon, that you scout the area, that you are taking care of certain things, and we're going to carry these on because there's going to be certain times of year that you're going to want to make sure you follow certain rituals. And so we anticipate that. That's part of our evolvement. The next sage is going to be Shun, S-H-U-N, Shun, and Shun gives two things. Shun is going to give this gift to government because he's going to teach us. He's going to teach them how to select wise officials, how to designate wise officials, how to choose wise officials. And that's important because this is a recognition that he can't govern everything by himself. This is a recognition that obviously rule is expanding, and so he needs to be able to delegate, and he's going to learn to delegate and to choose, and choose wisely. Not your brother or sister or aunt or uncle, but choose based on a meritocracy kind of idea, that somebody is indeed going to earn a position. They're going to be looking at scholars. They're going to be looking at educated people, those, again, gentlemen with an essence of Li. Following Shun is going to be Yu. Now, I said there were 5 of these, but again, that's a 6th one because Yu isn't considered a sage per se, but Yu is important because what he's going to do is he's going to give the gift of flood control. He's going to teach the people how to do flood control, and that's kind of important because flood control, especially along the Yellow River, is something they need. So not only is it to control the flooding, but how to store the water, how to channel the water. Now, excuse me, I forgot to mention the other thing about Shun, and excuse me, that other thing about Shun is going to be filial piety. And filial piety is about relationships. Filial piety is about respect. It's about how you treat other people and how you interact with other people. And that's going to be a huge part of tradition in society in China as we go along. And so that's part of the basis. Here's what we know. When you start tracking the sages historically, you can't track most of them historically. What we have is almost as if they're indeed folklore, because Fu Xi is going to rule for hundreds of years. Shenang will rule for a couple hundred years. Huangdi, again, we have people that rule for 100 or more years. Traditionally, we don't think people live long enough to actually rule that long. But that's where the tradition goes. We can track 2 or at least characters of this historically, because we can look at Shun and Yu and we can find their representatives in history. And so we think they're actually based on historical characters, and that's important because it's going to be Shun and Yu, which are our father and son, that are going to found the Xia Dynasty. And the Xia Dynasty is important because according to Chinese tradition, that's where China starts, is the Xia Dynasty. That's where we start to get the beginning of complex society. That's where we start to get the cities. That's where we get the foundation of government, thanks to filial piety, thanks to wise officials. This is where we get the idea that we can farm, that we can develop cities, that we can live together. And the Xia Dynasty is going to last, for several hundred years, until it's going to be replaced, and it's going to be replaced by the Shang, and the Shang are going to step in and say, listen, the Xia were indeed wise rulers. They were indeed wise sages, but over the years, that has lessened. Over the years, the government has become cruel, has become corrupt, has become contemptible, and so we were forced to step in and take over. And so what I want to talk about in the next video is talk a little bit about the Shang, and then I'll talk about their replacement, the Chao. But it's important to realize that this is the basis for a lot of the beliefs in traditional cultural China, is the gifts of the sages and the gifts of the celestials along the way. So I'll pick this up talking about the Shang and the Chao. Thank you.